Modern feminists are literally the destruction of women's rights.
Ladies, listen up. Feminism is not about equality anymore, stripping women of their true power.
Feminists went from equal rights to men are useless real fast.
And are better leaders.
What happens when men stop following rules they never agreed to? What if they simply decide, I'll live life on my own terms? Stay until the end, because the real story isn't men rejecting women. It's men rejecting pressure.
Ladies, listen up. Feminism is not about equality anymore. It's about tearing down men and stripping women of their true power. The original idea of feminism was about giving women equal rights, the ability to vote, work, and have a voice. But somewhere along the way, it turned toxic. Modern feminism today tells women to hate men, reject families, and act like the very thing they claim to be fighting against. And here's the truth. Feminism didn't make women stronger. It made them miserable. It convinced women that being feminine is weak, that being nurturing, loving, and wanting a husband and kids somehow makes you less. That is not strength. That is pure confusion. Femininity is powerful. A feminine woman knows how to elevate her man, create peace in her home, and stand firm in her values without trying to be a man. Feminism breeds resentment. Femininity creates harmony, and that's the difference that nobody wants to admit. Ladies, you do not gain power by competing with the guys. You gain power by being fully feminine and letting men lead where they are meant to lead. Feminism destroyed that truth. Femininity restores it. And if that offends you, maybe that's the wake-up call that you need.
For years, society told men what success should look like. Build a career, get married, provide, settle down, and start a family. For many men, that path still works. But others are asking a different question. What if I don't want that life? That question is becoming harder to ignore. And that's where things get interesting.
Fuck the 21st century. Because what do you mean? I just fucking lifted 4 bags of like 40 pounds of sand. 2 bags of coarse, of fucking mulch. They were also 30 pounds each. And a big thing of pine shavings. 5 different fucking men park next to me, like around my area, seeing me actually fucking like, barely be able to lift this shit. Look at me and keep walking. Not even ask to fucking help.
Men now have more ways to build an independent life. They can focus on careers, businesses, travel, investing, fitness, friendships, and simply enjoying their own company. Marriage is no longer the only path to adulthood. And dating isn't automatically required for happiness. But here's what often gets misunderstood. This isn't necessarily about men hating women. It's about men becoming more willing to choose what works for them. And that changes the dating dynamic. Because what happens when the person expected to chase simply stops chasing? That's when the real tension begins. And if you think independence is the biggest change, wait. Because money is only one part of the story. The bigger shift is happening in what men now expect from relationships.
My husband told another man today, if you actually feel that way about women, we are never speaking again, ever. And the guy that he was talking to backtracked real quick. My husband called me on the way home from work today and he goes, I have to tell you about this conversation I had. So I guess him and this other guy were having a conversation and started about street interviewers. And he had watched this video of the street interviewer harassing this woman, and this woman was wearing this cute little short sundress. And the conversation steered. He goes, I don't understand why women, the other guy said this, I don't understand why women wear stuff like that and then get mad when they get attention. My husband said, it doesn't matter what they're wearing. Women shouldn't be harassed because they're wearing something. He goes, yeah, but they're just screaming for attention and then they turn around and get mad when you give it to them. My husband was like, they could be walking around and you don't have the authority to harass them. How would you like it if people harassed you like that? He was like, well, I wouldn't like it, but if I was wearing something that called for it. Anyways, my husband and this man went around in circles, and he said by the end of it, he was like, I could not believe what he was saying. And he said that he goes, you thinking like this and speaking like this is perpetuating rape culture. You misogynistic piece of... So the guy backtracked, right? He was like, I was just... sometimes I like to play devil's advocate. I don't really think that way. And my husband was like, playing devil's advocate, you have to warn people when you play devil's advocate, and I think you're gaslighting me. I think you're upset that I called you out on your shitty behavior. And the guy was like, well, I'm just old school. I'm older. He was like, unlearn that shit. Just because you come from a different generation doesn't give you the authority to be a piece of shit. Unlearn it. So I'm sitting in the car and I'm listening to him tell me all of this, and I'm like, damn. I said, I'm really proud of you, right? I said, I'm really fucking proud of you. And thank you. Thanks. Locker room talk isn't very fun, is it?
A man who once felt pressured to find someone may now see relationships differently. Instead of asking, how do I get a girlfriend? He may ask, does this relationship actually make my life better? That's a completely different question, and it changes everything. Some men are no longer impressed by attention alone. They want respect, peace, trust, compatibility, and real connection. If those things aren't there, walking away becomes easier. Being single is no longer automatically seen as failure. For some men, it's simply another option. And when you have options, your decisions change.
Modern feminists are literally the destruction of women's rights. You think you gotta compete with men to be equal? I don't need a man. I'm strong. I make my own money. I'm a boss bitch. That's not true. We are literally single-handedly destroying our feminine superpowers. We gotta learn to embrace who we are and understand that the balance between men and women is what creates real strength. We all have a role to play to make a balanced society. Women are trying to fight and compete with men is like a goldfish trying to fight a shark. It's illogical and biologically impossible. Let's accept our nature and accept our differences. We gotta embrace our softness, our nurturing side, our intuition. If a man knows he's responsible and he doesn't abuse that power, and when a woman truly embraces her qualities, they're a powerhouse. They're absolutely unstoppable. Behind every great man is an even better woman. We all want a strong man. You can deny all you like, but deep down, this is what every woman wants.
Dating apps made meeting people easier, but they also created new problems. Ghosting, burnout, endless swiping, mixed signals, and too many choices. After enough bad experiences, some people simply stop participating. Not because they can't date, but because they don't want to. That difference matters. A man choosing solitude isn't necessarily losing. He may feel like he's gaining time, money, freedom, privacy, and peace. And once someone becomes comfortable being alone, desperation starts to disappear. But here's where it gets even more interesting. When men stop automatically chasing relationships, it doesn't affect women alone. The entire dating dynamic begins to change. And that brings us to the biggest question.
Pressure. I feel like feminism was good for men because it kind of relieved them of a little bit of pressure.
It lifted everybody up.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, but
really
it's made men so much more depressed than ever. It's made them weaker.
I think they just don't like the fact that now they see, oh, women can be as good as us because now that we're allowed to have all these rights, we're graduating from college more than they are now.
Why do you have to be?
Because we live in their world. And I'm saying because we live in this world with them where they are suppressing us, their bar is up here. If our bar gets lifted, so does theirs. Our bar gets lifted, so does theirs.
Why do women need to be less than men?
Yeah.
Women are not less than men. They're different from men. We provide equal value, but we're different. You can't, it's no way that if you got a man that's your age, your height, whatever, he's going and you race him. You're not going to beat him. More times than not, they're going to dust you, which lets you know that you are not equal to them.
What can men do that we can't?
I mean, men build everything. We don't. Men protect us. They fight wars. We don't.
What do they protect us from? Other men?
No, women have always fought in wars. Women have built so many things.
Okay, so one thing that the woman in the pink wig said was how men have to protect us from other men, and I hear this a lot when it comes to feminists. And one comment I tried to get in, and it's very hard because you're trying to be respectful of everybody's time. I kind of try to say that men are also protecting us from ourselves. You know, that's what men protect us from, is us making radical decisions that are not conducive and destroy society. So they provide structure and order. If I can just be honest it's kind of hard to have these kind of debates and discussions when you're a Christian in a secular conversation, or with people that do not follow the word of God. But it is a man's world. So just like the curse of Eve, where women will always want to have dominion over man, but man will always rule, that's what they're fighting against. And I thought that was very interesting and funny, because the Bible literally says that this is something that women will always innately want, but it will just never happen. So what women are doing is, these feminists, what they don't understand that they're doing is that they're chasing a losing battle, essentially, because it's God, man, and then woman, and then children. And so it is sort of a man's world. Just like Carmen said, and I love that she said this on the anti-feminist side, is that they'll always dust you. When women have these privileges and they have the free will to choose, they make emotionally impulsive decisions. That's why they're the ones that initiate divorce. They have the ability and the power to divorce, which we see through history women didn't. They have the power and ability to choose divorce, and they choose it. 80% or higher actually now is divorces are filed by women. So it lets you know that because of a women's emotions, because of the desire for oxytocin, we crave happiness and what will make us feel happy. Other thing that the feminist said is that the bar always gets raised, but it's once again because it is not God's natural design for a woman to be able to rule over a man or be equal with the man. A man will always rule over a woman. So once again, it's a spiritual battle, I believe, that's going on within themselves. We see that women that are also now trying to rise to the occasion, they aren't getting married because they're no longer a complementary, right? Women being incredibly valuable because we bring life into this world, and men are there to cover and protect her because she births life. So they are over her. His strengths, he's stronger than her, can mentally, like we see, like Carmen said, that men are geniuses, that God designed that for a reason, so that women are supposed to have the cover and protection. Men being violent towards one another, that's all out of just pride and sin, being in a fallen state and in a fallen world. It's there to essentially protect a woman and keep her covered, because she's the carrier of life. We are of value. We're both of equal value, but incredibly different roles. I want to picture it like the man is this mighty tree and his branches flow over her, and God designed him like that, not for you to try to chop it down, because if you chop it down, you're the weaker vessel, so you're more fragile tree, but you're supposed to be under the covering of him, so that when wind blows and a storm comes, he's the one taking all of the lashes, but he can handle it because he's stronger, and he's covering you, right? He's covering you. Maybe your tree holds different fruit, right? While his is just bigger branches and trees. So it's all in God's design and order. So when you, as the weaker vessel, try to chop down the man, it's never gonna happen. Try to chop down the man. You don't understand why it's not happening in spiritual. I'm telling you. You try to chop down the man, and then you yourself try to stand on your own. You're gonna realize how feeble and fragile that you are. You get pregnant for 9 months, you can't go do the labor jobs. You try to take men out from doing these hard jobs and stuff like that, society will fall. You don't want what you're asking for by trying to rise to the occasion and be like a man.